When I was 13, my mom and I stood in a doctor's office, being told that my hip had come apart and that I would never walk again. My brother was right there in my face in the hospital as I came out of each surgery, making me laugh hysterically. My dad acted like nothing was wrong, even though I was on crutches for a year. I told the doctor that not only would I walk again, but I'd be the best darn athlete he'd ever seen. Well, ever since, thanks to my very optimistic family, I have been defined by a belief that I could do anything. Well, if I really could do anything, tonight I would bring the three of them back to be here. This is truly humbling. All of the honorees, congratulations to all of those who are honored tonight. I am so inspired, as I know all of us are, by you. Great examples. Mark, you, the NCAA, and everyone in this room across all divisions, you're all in the business of creating leaders. And I owe so much to Purdue for helping create me. The student part, the athlete part. I remember my first day on campus at Purdue. A counselor asked me what I wanted to major in. And I said, probably like many of us, I have absolutely no clue. And he looked at my high school academic records and told me very confidently to major in industrial management and computer science, take all my electives in accounting, and 4 years later, I'd be equipped to do anything I wanted. Well, he was right. But after those 4 years, I still had no clue. I didn't know what I wanted to do, other than to work in a place where I could take as much responsibility as I could handle, get the ball with 2 seconds to go. So after a lot of frustrating interviews, one of my accounting professors suggested that I talk to one of the big 8 accounting firms. Well, he too was right. At Ernst & Young, I found my home. An entrepreneurial environment with my kind of values, and 36 years later, I feel like I've had 36 different careers. EY has given me a wonderful platform to help to build a better working world. Well, I have to tell you, when I started at EY, I was so different. I was surrounded by men, mainly extroverts, mostly Republican, and 100% straight. I was female, an introvert, a Democrat, and gay, although they didn't know that one at the time. But we had one thing in common, and it was sports. And as we all know in Indiana, if you played basketball at Purdue, you pretty much walk on water. So in fact, they so respected that I had played basketball at Purdue that they gave me every opportunity to excel. I never had to conform to some majority norm. And as a student athlete, I knew how to succeed. That DNA in a student athlete is what I took into EY. And it's exactly why Donna DeVerona, the 2003 Teddy honoree who's here with us tonight, it's why Donna and I worked together to create the EY Women Athletes Business Network. Athletes, as we all know, are a tremendous pool of leadership talent, both inside and outside of the world of sports. Well, Donna and many on our team that are here tonight help female athletes transition to business after their career in sports ends. Here, though, is why we're so passionate about this. At EY, we have studied C-suite, top-level business women, and we have found that 94% of them played sports, and over half played at a university level. 94%. That is virtually every woman who's made it to the top in business played sports. It is such an important finding. For business, we should hire female student athletes if we want women in our top ranks. And it's a message to parents about keeping their daughters in sports when society pressures them to drop out of sports at about 4 times the rate of boys. Well, as you saw in the video, my dad really did drill into me that success is fleeting, but significance is lasting. You talk about significance, Donna DeVerona. Donna's success was her Olympic gold medal. Her significance is 4 decades of women like me who have benefited from Title IX because Donna used her platform to be a driving influence in getting that legislation passed. And now, if through our network we can help more female athletes pivot, then we will create more female business leaders. And will make a difference for all of us if we can do that. Donna's tenacity is what Theodore Roosevelt valued when he talked about the men and women who strive valiantly over and over again in some worthy cause, sometimes achieving and sometimes failing, but at least failing while daring greatly, so that their place is never with those who know neither either victory nor defeat because they simply never tried. Well, my dad did not get to experience perhaps the single most important thing that I've done in my life to make a difference. And to be completely honest, I wasn't even trying at the time to do anything significant. 5 years ago, I came out. And in that moment, I became the most senior out female business executive in the world. Here's how it happened. Our gay and lesbian group at EY was doing a video for the Trevor Project to send a message to gay teenagers who, as we all know, are at very high risk of suicide, about how they need to hang in there because life gets better. So our LGBT group came to me and they wanted me as one of our most senior straight, keep in mind I was still closeted, straight executives, to close the video. So I said, sure, absolutely, I'll do that. So fast forward a few months, I'm on a plane, I'm reviewing the script that my team had written for me from the perspective of a straight executive. And I thought, that's just not what I'd say if I was being honest. So, true confession, after a glass of red wine, I started to write my own script. I pulled out a piece of paper and started to write my own script about difference and why it matters. And that came from the heart because I have marched to my own drummer my entire life, perhaps because of my hip falling apart when I was 13, feeling like I'm in left field when everyone else is in right field. So my very heartfelt message to those gay teenagers was they needed to feel valuable because of their difference, not in spite of their difference. I was not only gay, I had just lived this entire life of being so very different, and yet I had succeeded, and so would they. Well, the Wall Street Journal ran a front page story about my coming out, so I was about as out as you could possibly be. After thousands of emails and phone calls, I can tell you that at age 52, in that one act of coming out, I have made more of a difference for so many people around the world than anything else I've ever done in my life. I went from living life in black and white to life in full color. I had absolutely no idea how the world was not getting the best that I had to offer. Amazingly, I would have stood here tonight alone. I would have, because I often did. Instead, I am here with incredible friends and family. Yes, my friends. There. Just incredible friends and family, and with the love of my life, Michelle Marciniak. As you may or may not know, Michelle was Pat Summitt's point guard at Tennessee and was the MVP of the 1996 national championship team. What most of you don't know is that before Michelle and I actually fell in love, we had known each other for several years through Sheiks, the business that she had co-founded. But we were both deeply closeted. We didn't know each other were gay. So my coming out brought her out to me and brought us together. Thus, we're now Brooke-Marciniak. I'm thankful that more student athletes are feeling free to be who they really are. I encourage you to encourage them. Nobody should have to live their life in black and white. And if they are, we are not getting their best as a student or as an athlete. I applaud the NCAA for using your platform to take a stand in North Carolina and to create the pledge that many schools have now signed to commit to promoting diversity and gender equity in intercollegiate athletics. You all putting that into action is so significant, and there's never been a more important time. We stand tonight on the eve of the inauguration, and I think back to 3 a.m. on the night of the election when all was lost for this Clinton administration kid. Well, I got to tell you, the next morning I was inundated with calls from friends struggling to process the election outcome. And I felt the student athlete in me telling them to toughen up, Buttercup. Let me explain that one. So, in Peyton Manning's tribute to Pat Summitt this past summer, Peyton talked about his football days at Tennessee and the advice that he once got from Pat Summitt. When Peyton was down and he was discouraged, he really needed some heartfelt advice and a hug. And Pat told him unsympathetically, "Peyton, toughen up, Buttercup." So we all need to toughen up and help to make sure that this president-elect delivers solutions for all Americans. We in business need to help find solutions to the job loss that we created. And we need to help heal the divisiveness left by the campaign. Our workplaces can be safe spaces, just as the team environments, where differences are not only respected, but they're valued. Business is at an important fork in the road. Business success for the last decade, business success has been good enough. But business hasn't necessarily been challenged hard to be a good corporate citizen, to do things that really matter. Business needs to step up, as do all institutions. And certainly that question of whether success is good enough applies to winning in sports as well. We all know Pat Summitt's significance for women's basketball. But her true legacy, her true significance, may be the 161 Lady Vols that she molded into great citizens, and her courage to form a foundation and publicly fight to the end against the Alzheimer's disease that took her life and my father's life. I love that the NCAA has created a new Pat Summitt Award that will be presented tomorrow, and that its first recipient, Joan Cronin, helped Pat in her journey from success to significance. Let me tell you something that many of you don't know. Joan Cronin, the epitome of class, was one of the first women to reach out to us at EY with our Women Athletes Business Network and offer her support in whatever way we needed. And Joan's support added a lot of credibility in our early days. And Joan supported Michelle and me as a couple, publicly, even in some environments that were not very gay-friendly, leading by example. As someone who spends a lot of time in countries where you can be arrested or put to death for being gay, I don't underestimate what Joan did for Michelle and me. And don't underestimate the impact that you too can have for many others by your own actions. Platforms, we've heard it all night tonight. Virtually everyone that spoke talked about platforms. Platforms and how we use them are important. As a post player who did not have the biggest frame, Purdue taught me to never play small. At EY, I could just do my job and I would be successful. But I think the reason I'm here tonight is that thanks to my dad's inspiration, I used the platform I have at EY and the resources behind me and the teams around us to do the things that matter beyond my job. Teaching our student athletes to not play small in life is what leadership's all about. And as their role models, we need to challenge ourselves to not play small either. People at Purdue, with their platform and values, have never played small for me. Sharon Versup, the current women's basketball coach, and Nancy Cross, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics, who was also my assistant coach when I played, have always opened doors for me. They've done everything, though, based on what they could do for me, not what I could do for them. Tremendous role models in the Big Ten. And Joni Comstock, now doing great things at the NCAA, took a tour through Purdue as a senior associate at AD. Stephanie White, the 1999 national champion at Purdue and now women's basketball coach at Vanderbilt, really knows how to use her platform. Mike Bobinski, who was here with me. Here you are. There's something in the water at Purdue for women. So I just want you to know that. I know you've just joined Purdue, but there is something in the water for Purdue, for women. Last thing I want to share. I have to tell you about an email congratulating me on this honor. It was from Annie Myers Drysdale. Growing up, I fell asleep every night listening to the Indiana Pacers on the radio. George McGinnis, Billy Keller, Mel Daniels, and then Annie Myers. It was incredible to follow Annie after she had graduated from UCLA, the first and only woman to sign a contract and try out for an NBA team. Well, like Teddy Roosevelt described, Annie dared greatly and came up short in her tryout for the Pacers, and she didn't make the final cut. But because of Annie, so many girls in Indiana thought we too could play for the Pacers someday. Your players today are the Annie Myers of my era. They're being watched by so many boys and girls. Help your players understand the platforms that they have and the role models that they can be. What they're inspired to do is up to us. You know, I really do hate that my mom and dad aren't here. They didn't understand much of anything I did in my career, but they would have understood tonight, and that would have meant the world to me. My dad died 14 years ago this week. My mom died 2 years ago, and my brother died last year. So I lost my entire immediate family. And I confess I struggled. And I started to question my dad's advice. And I thought, why am I trying so hard to make a difference? Life's short. Maybe we should all just be playing through life. None of this matters anyway, right? Well, wrong. Tonight reminds us. President Roosevelt reminds us to strive valiantly. Whether we succeed or fail, at least try. And Pat Summitt reminds us that relationships are more important than championships. And what we do to make a difference for young women is more important than being the most winningest coach of all time. To the Honors Committee of the NCAA, thank you. Thank you for reminding me that my dad was right. We've been given gifts, all of us. We've been given gifts, and we need to use them. Whether we fall on our face or not, we need to never stop trying. My hope is that we all, everyone in this room, use the platforms that we have to make a difference every day, wherever we can, to leave the world a little better place for having been here, and to honor traditions like this, so that we never forget just how blessed we are. Thank you.